You're watching Reality Check. The turmoil in the CBI has turned the focus on a scam-hit Gujarat-based business group and its links to the CBI's deputy chief Rakesh Asthana, an officer of the Gujarat cadre. The CBI was in the process of probing whether Mr Asthana received any benefits from the Sandesara family, which ran Sterling Biotech, a company charged with fraud, when the turmoil erupted within the probe agency. Starting in October 2017, the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate had initiated multiple charges against this group for over 5,000 crores of bank fraud as well as money laundering. The group is said to have siphoned off crores of bank loans from a consortium of banks led by Andhra Bank. The accused includes Sandesara, his wife Deepthi and brother Nitin. They have been charged with reporting false turnovers and bogus sales to cheat the banks. All of them are said to have fled the country since 2016. In June 2011, the Income Tax Department had raided Sterling Biotech Limited's premises and are said to have found a diary with handwritten notes about financial transactions. That included about 3.8 crores of payments to an RA. Supposedly, is that Rakesh Asthana. But Mr Asthana is said to have clarified that the RA stood for running account, a conclusion that the Enforcement Directorate is said to have accepted. But the CBI is still examining whether Mr Asthana availed of the family's hospitality, especially during the wedding of his daughter in 2016 in Vadodara. Mr Asthana was posted there as commissioner from 2008 to 11. The city is also the home base of the Sandesara family. Maryam Alvi travelled to Vadodara and came back with this report.
On the CBI scanner, this farmhouse owned by the Sandesaras on the outskirts of Vadodara.
Allegedly, Rakesh Asthana's daughter's Sangeet ceremony happened at this farmhouse, owned by the Sandesaras. This was provided to him free of cost. We're at the Sun City Club and Resort where we just met with members of the management. Mithil Shah, the MD and owner of the resort, just confirmed to us that 35 of the 37 rooms they have in the resort was provided to Rakesh Asthana and his guests for free in November during his daughter's wedding. He said that this was done before the resort was launched officially, and as a pre-launch event with high-profile guests, he thought that it might work to the resort's benefit. The rooms here go for a minimum of 5,000 rupees plus taxes. For 35 rooms for 2 nights, that would have worked up to 3,50,000 rupees plus taxes. Hotels have been reluctant to comment on the matter when we approached them. Hotel Express Towers, which is said to have provided catering for free during the Sangeet ceremony held at Sandesara's farmhouse, they said Nirav Gandhi was the right person to comment on the matter, the director of the company. Unfortunately, he was out of town and the staffers refused to share a contact number for him. At Lakshmi Vilas Palace, the venue of the wedding, the staffers refused to share a name, let alone a contact number for the person to be reached for comment. This is the Sandesara Group's main offices here in Vadodara. Once a very busy workplace according to the guards, there are hardly any employees working out of this building anymore. We weren't allowed to shoot inside, but when we stepped in, what we saw were empty offices, wrapped up furniture and empty workplaces. Except for buses that came in the morning to pick up employees and take them to factories that are 30 to 40 kilometers away, there is hardly any movement outside the office now.
All right, we reached out to Mr Asthana. Sources close to him said that he has bills and receipts for the wedding and he will share those bills with the authorities. He said it was ridiculous to link him in any way with the Sandesara family. It's a pure witch hunt, he said, to make such a link. And he also says that the Enforcement Directorate itself has found that those diary entries which said RA are not Rakesh Asthana but running account. Okay, let's go to a panel. We have with us Rahul Sharma, who's a former police officer from the Gujarat Police, joining us via Skype. He's someone who's taken voluntary retirement from the police. Also joining us is Vikas Singh, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, former Additional Solicitor General of India. We have Adil Singh Boparai, Congress spokesperson, here in the studio with us. Also Shantanu Gupta, author of Yogi Adityanath's biography, The Monk Who Became Chief Minister. And of course, Aarti Jairat, senior journalist. Thanks very much indeed for being here. Rahul Sharma, let me just ask you first now. What do we make of this? The fact that now you have all these charges coming out and it's really the CBI at war within itself. Some are saying that this is an imposition of the Gujarat model into Delhi, where you had a situation in Gujarat where the police force was entirely polarized. There were people like you who were seen to be somehow adversarial to the government, facing multiple charges by the government, and there were other officers who were seen as favored, which included Mr Asthana.
Now, going by what has happened in the past few days, look at the thing in its entirety and the transfers of the director CBI,
right,
and the manner in which it has been done. Of special consideration would be the transfer of the investigating officer also, transferring him from Delhi to Port Blair.
What is that? How do you link that at all to what happens in Gujarat? Tell me about Gujarat, because before we come to what's happened here, I'm interested to know your view on whether you see a parallel.
There is definitely a parallel, because in Gujarat, we didn't have a regular DJP for so long. Every officer was at the mercy of the government. If you don't toe the line, you are shunted out, you are saddled with so many inquiries, this and that.
Okay.
Harassment never came to an end. If you are a blue boy, then you are celebrating. You celebrate your post. You get the choices of the postings.
Was Mr Asthana, as is being alleged, a blue-eyed boy of the government?
In my reckoning, yes.
Okay.
He came somewhere around the Gujarat riots, if I am not mistaken, somewhere around 2002.
Yes.
And from 2002 to 2016, when he went on deputation to the CBI, or 17, I don't remember he being in a post that was not in the executive.
That was not what?
Not in the executive post.
Oh, not in the
Never in
executive.
the branches. Yeah.
I see.
He served as the range IG Baroda, then supervised the Godhra riots, Godhra train carnage investigations. Then he came to Ahmedabad city, I think Sector 1 or Sector 2, Joint Commissioner. Then he became the Baroda range IG. Then he became Commissioner of Police Baroda. Then for 5 long years, he was the Commissioner of Police Surat City.
Right. So you're saying that that is unusual, is it? That it's
Extremely
unusual for people to get these prize postings for such a long duration, because otherwise some could say these are just routine positions that are being given. But okay, you're saying it's unusual, but the question here really is, Adil Singh Boparai, that it's not just a question of a Mr Asthana or a Mr Verma or a Mr Nageshwar Rao. This appears to be a case where everybody is confronting the other with serious charges. So there are charges against Mr Asthana, saying that he was close to this sort of dubious financial company, but equally he's brought charges against the CBI director as well.
Well, it doesn't end there. As far as Mr Modi is concerned, he has emasculated every institution in this country. And let me jog your memory to Rajeshwar Singh and Hasmukh Adhia. Hasmukh Adhia is another blue-eyed officer of the Prime Minister.
But my point was different. My point is that this is something which is not necessarily something you can lay the blame entirely at the doorstep of the BJP and the Modi government, right?
But
there has been a cloud over officials of investigating agencies even under the Congress.
I disagree with you on a limited point. Who bulldozed, who foisted, who thrust Rakesh Asthana on the CBI? It was Mr Modi, it was the BJP. Despite objections, despite his role being investigated in the Sandesara case, despite that, the Prime Minister insisted on his appointment.
Okay,
because the attempt was to subvert this institution.
Okay, Shantanu Gupta, do you want to respond to that? That if Mr Asthana indeed had these question marks over him, this proximity to the business house, other charges, was it a wise move to bring him to the CBI and in a sense set off this crisis that we now find ourselves in?
See, if you Vasu, a couple of years back, Congress was even opposing the appointment of Mr Alok Verma. So who was appointed, in what competence, and I think if we see the case history and the career of each CBI officer, then it will be a long debate, right? I think all governments are charged with appointment of these officers, and we go by to the competence of those officers.
No, but if someone has actually got these charges against him, is being probed.
So if we keep linking who was from Gujarat cadre, who was from Kashmir cadre, who was from Delhi cadre.
Let's leave Gujarat aside.
See the officers by their competence, and if there is any case, I think Congress have enough legal minds. They can take it to court. Courts are open for them even in midnight.
But you know, when you have a situation,
Congress has all the
Vikas Singh,
opportunities in last year to
Yeah.
take this opportunity to court.
okay, but when you
Courts
have
are
a
open
situation,
them even in midnights, and they have
All
a
right.
battery of lawyers with them.
okay, when you have a situation, Vikas Singh, where you have this kind of crossfire of charges, what do we make of this? I mean, here you have an officer. He says that, look, I have all the bills and receipts of my wedding. There was nothing, there's nothing untoward about it. But the fact is that should you, even as a serving police officer, be taking favors from a business house, especially a business house which had a shadow over it? Now, the Sandesara group, the CBI and the ED only moved against them in 2017, but they already faced investigation from the income tax as well as from banks going back to 2011.
Well, according to me, a serving police officer should not take this kind of hospitality or this kind of benefit from any business house. I mean, whether the business house is under cloud or not is immaterial, because today, in today's scenario, a business house may just want to keep somebody powerful on its good book. So I don't approve of this. This should never happen. There are so many government sort of properties where government officers can have their weddings, etc.
Right.
And they can take government guest houses, which officially is permissible for them to take.
Right.
So I don't approve of this at all. This should never have happened. If this has happened, then he will have to explain. And that is why I have been saying right from the beginning that, this is a case where when the Supreme Court hears it tomorrow, I just hope that the Supreme Court ensures that whatever inquiry or whatever investigation is to be done either against either one of them or both of them,
Yes.
that is taken to its logical end. That
Right.
should not be scuttled. The fact that
Okay.
people have been transferred should not be used as a handle to sort of subvert the investigation and ensure that people are gone scot-free in spite of being involved in things like this.
All right,
and one more thing, Srinivasan, if the government had, just one last thing, if the government had to take so much time to take this call
Yes.
of removing the director, then the government might as well have called the committee and had a discussion on this before this decision was
Well,
taken.
that's
Because
also,
there is
yeah,
a
I want to
statutory
come to that.
committee.
I want to come to that in a second about why that committee option was not invoked. But I just want to ask you, Rahul Sharma, and I'll come to you, Shantanu. I know you have your hand up. But Rahul Sharma, as far as your service rules are concerned, are you permitted to take this kind of hospitality?
No. Service rules are very clear. Service rules say that any transaction in moving property more than twice your basic pay has to be reported to the government. One. Number two, you simply cannot take a complimentary gift or a complimentary favor,
Right.
whatever be the condition, from a person whom you are dealing with professionally.
No.
As
So,
a commissioner-
for example, in this case, this resort says that we gave the rooms gratis because we felt that the guests would be high profile. This would add to to our publicity. This would add to our business.
I
is
cannot
this permitted?
further the business of some interest business group. If I have taken such a favor, I have to report this to the government. Otherwise, it is outright corruption.
Oh, I see. You have to report to the government. You have to disclose.
Yes.
That's something we don't know whether that happened or not.
And
But Aarti-
if it is from a person whom you are dealing with professionally,
yeah,
you have to take permission and a prior permission.
right. Okay.
I don't think, going by the reports, I don't think anything of this this kind has been done.
Okay. We don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, I
Aarti,
don't
the
know.
problem
Going
with
by
this story, the reason why this becomes so hard to try to figure out exactly where we go from here, as I said, everyone is accused the other of charges.
Yes.
Right? So the CBI, the sort of the sitting CBI director who's in exile, let's put that graphic up actually. So he faces charges of having received bribes from Moin Qureshi, as per Mr Asthana. He's supposed to have tried to interfere in the Lalu Yadav investigation. The gentleman who's the interim chief is already now facing a slew of charges.
Yeah. Well,
for property, for not filing his property records correctly and whatnot.
You know, Vasu, two things, I mean, there are two takeaways really from what's happening in the CBI. One is the government's appointment policy. I mean, how do they pick up officers who are facing charges or have allegations against them or who are under a cloud or who are being investigated and put them into sensitive, important posts like, you know, the CBI, right, which is the country's premier investigative agency, which is supposed to investigate corruption cases.
I can't agree with you more, but what worries me in this is what seems to be emerging is where are these clean, untainted officers to even be appointed to these posts? Because everyone who comes to the post comes with a slew of charges.
And the government seems to specialize in picking up these officers. I mean, all of them, you know. Secondly, the other thing that's really coming out is, does the writ of the government run anymore? I mean, if the CBI director can go in open revolt like this, you know, does it mean that the you know, the sort of great Modi, you know, sort of control fact is slipping?